So does that mean like when I have a drawdown and have like 6 losing trades in a row, then when I go and smash that pint of ice cream, it's not going to make it better, Darren?
Well, there's nothing wrong with eating ice cream. I mean, if that's going to be your crutch, then that's fine. You are going to get horribly overweight, though.
Two traders, Darren and Walter, pull back the curtain on profitable trading systems, consistent money management, and profitable psychological triggers. Welcome to the Two Traders podcast.
Welcome to Two Traders. It's Walter here, and there's Darren over there. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Walter.
You are in tropical paradise. How are things for you?
Really good. Yeah, I'm loving it in Thailand, mate. Just come back from a swim. Properly awesome. Relaxed.
Excellent. Yeah, so I was thinking, Darren, in this episode, I wanted to talk about it's really self-awareness or sort of recalibrating. So there are times when anybody, and you don't have to be a trader to have this, where you go through those phases where you feel like you're just off your game, or you feel like you're not really doing what you should do. And I've noticed that a lot of really consistently profitable traders, they have almost like a routine that they go through, and they stick to it. They're very religious about it. And I'm just wondering if we can talk about some of the things that you can do to be aware of when you're off your game, when you need to recalibrate. So that can mean many things. It could mean when you need to step back into more of a disciplined approach to your trading. So if you feel like you're making sloppy decisions, for example, it might just be because you're not in the right mindset when you sit down to make your trading decisions, okay? It could also be, you've got other stressors in your life and they're affecting your trading, so maybe it's just a good idea to step away and, don't trade for a week or two. It could be that you're in a drawdown, and because you're in a drawdown, you kind of want to fight your way out of it rather quickly, and so you're changing your risk parameters or something like that, and it might mean that you need to just step away from trading, take a holiday. Or maybe it means that you need to jump into back testing and just do a whole bunch of work in Forex Tester to reconvince yourself that what you're doing is a viable strategy, and that you're just in a normal drawdown. You just need to work yourself out of it. So these are the things that I think a lot of traders think about, and I don't know if there's I don't think there's a one size fits all, but I was just wondering, are there any things that you do to sort of highlight? Is it the journal? Is it something that you can kind of point to and say, yeah, when this happens, I know that I need to do this? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I think for me personally, when I'm going through a bit of a rough patch mentally about trading, I find that I start reading about other people's trading too much, perhaps go on forums too much, perhaps take too much information in. And what I do now is every 3 months I go on holiday for a month, and I still trade when I'm away for that month, but not as intensely. I kind of par everything down and reduce my exposure, and I trade a little bit, but it becomes more of a background thing rather than it being the most important thing I'm doing that day. And for me that works really well, because I get this effect when I come back where I just kind of feel refreshed and I can think clearly, and all of a sudden the important elements of my trading just kind of stand out and are obvious. And I find as I get a bit tired, towards the end of my 3 months, that's when mistakes start slipping in and I start questioning my strategy. But when I first come back and I feel refreshed, then I can sail through the drawdowns and just stay positive in my mind about everything. So that works for me, and I know a lot of other businesses use sabbaticals from work to get people to think more clearly. But I suppose if that didn't work for you, you could work out some sort of routine that incorporated taking a break from the charts and perhaps doing some exercise. Those things are all proven to help dramatically. And the obvious ones like sleep as well will keep you out of getting into a bad decision process kind of thing. Those are the things that are proven to work and improve performance when it comes to making decisions.
Yeah, I wonder, like some traders listening, they might have sort of a pet mistake that they keep making, whether it's moving their stop loss to give a losing trade more room, or taking on too much risk after several losing trades, or things like that. Like, it could be that you have this one thing that keeps creeping up on you, and when that pops up, that, okay, I need to do something here, and I need to do, I need to make sure that, it's kind of like a little alarm clock that's sounding off and saying, okay, you're making this silly mistake again, Yeah, so I think it's going to depend on the trader, I suppose, but so there's this interesting idea. So there's this guy, and I don't know if I've talked about him before. He's a famous dentist. I feel like I've talked about this guy before, but anyway, he's this famous dentist, and he has a practice in Queensland in Australia, and he goes around the world teaching other dentists how he runs his practice. Now, apparently, I didn't know this until I heard about this, but this guy's apparently dentists have like some of the highest suicide rates in the world. It's a really horrible profession, apparently, looking in people's dirty mouths all day, and working on their teeth. Apparently, it's just a really bad suicide rate. And besides that, it's a horrible place to work. There's a lot of staff turnover. A lot of people who work for dentists, they leave. They don't tend to stick around. Tend to move around quite a bit. And so, but meanwhile, this guy, he doesn't advertise. He doesn't even have a sign outside of his dental practice, and yet he's got a wait list that goes down, for months and months and months. It's all kind of referral based. So if you're lucky enough to become one of his patients, then you can recommend that your friends come in the fold too. It's kind of like this club. But what was interesting about his staff is that when they come to work, and they've all been working for him for like 25, 30 years, and they haven't left, and they all love working for him and everything. And what he found was that when they came into work, they just put this number up on the board. So it's like a number that's between 1 and 10 that's supposed to let everyone else know how they're feeling that day. So if you're feeling kind of, just okay, maybe you're a little bit tired, or you got in a fight with your spouse or whatever, or, you had some road rage on the way into work, you might put like a 5 or a 6 on there. And if you're feeling really good, it's a Friday, it's a happy day, you can't wait to go out on Friday night or whatever, you might put a 9 up there, right? And the reason they do that is so that everyone knows, okay, well, Jill is in a bad mood today, or, she's not feeling so good, so we just have to be, wary and just be really nice to her today. She's a 6 or whatever. And apparently this kind of works. And I wonder if the same kind of thing could be incorporated into your journal. Like, as a trader, you're not really talking about your trades, you're just talking about you. And so you can say, today I'm feeling kind of whatever, before you make your trading decisions. So I'm assuming that basically you have time between when you wake up and you make your trading decisions. I know in some places in the world, people kind of just wake up and they frantically run to their computer to see if there's a trade. But if you have time between when you wake up and you're doing everyday stuff, and then to the point where you're now trading and making trading decisions, you could use that. Like, you could have this journal where you kind of talk about more about your feelings and how you're feeling, and you could go back and watch. You could even record this in the journal where we look, okay, I was in the drawdown then, or I had an equity high there, and so you could kind of correlate the emotional feelings you had with your trading performance. And I wonder if there might be something there for a lot of traders, and it might be something that we don't look at, because traders tend to be kind of introverted, analytical people, and they might think that they understand what they're thinking and what they're feeling, but maybe if they just the act of writing it out can, that changes the way that you process it.
Yeah, I suppose. And there was an interesting webinar I watched where they studied trading floor in London, and they found not just a single, they studied a lot of trading floors, and they found the floor managers that listened to their traders and spoke to them about how things were going and how they were feeling performed much better. So certainly talking about those emotions will help. I think knowing when you're personally trading bad or not, and it's something that you always repeat, I think that's a really difficult thing to do, because in the moment this feeling, which is particularly strong to you, tends to urge you to act. And I think it's what you need to learn is a process of recognizing that feeling and then not acting it out to kind of reduce those periods, or even stopping trading completely for that period.
Yeah, so like, do you have any rules that you would stop trading completely? Do you have a thing that would, if this happens, then just stop trading?
Not really. I don't really make any catastrophic mistakes anymore. I tend to stick to my system pretty solidly, and I do notice, just 2 weeks ago I had a really long drawdown. Nothing completely unexpected. I know it's going to happen, but towards the end of it I did find it a bit harder to, when we did finally break out of the consolidation, I find it quite hard to hold my trades to the TP, and I did feel myself being urged to perhaps close some trades early, or I was starting to question my exit strategy based on what had happened. But I don't really make those kind of beginner mistakes that I always used to, where I'd suddenly put on a trade much larger than I should, or I'd just suddenly use a completely different exit rule or entry rule to make I've kind of got past that stage. Really, what I find more is just I need to push myself a little bit harder when I'm in the particularly bad drawdowns or particularly bad losing streaks. I just need to kind of watch myself. But I think I'm kind of tuned in enough now to say I'm having some weird thoughts here, and okay, why is that? Well, it's because I'm in this drawdown. So so what do I need to be aware of? Okay, just stick to my system, and over the long run I'll be okay. And I think that's kind of the where you need to get to psychologically. I know it sounds a little bit like I'm saying like I'm some sort of guru or something here, like sort of Yoda. Right. But I don't mean that. What I do mean is that if you're aware of these things and you stick at trading long enough, you do get better at recognizing when it's occurring, and you do get better at making the best decisions in those moments.
Yeah, and I think the reasons that you have for these things change as you progress as a trader too. I tend to believe that when you're an immature trader, so to speak, and I don't mean immature as in, you're really cranky with your pips or whatever, but I mean, when you're new to this, you might have a drawdown and you might say, you might be more inclined to say, well, the market's changed, or the system doesn't work anymore. The system is broken. I think the more mature trader is less likely to fall back on that explanation, is more likely to say what you just said, which is, it's more about knowing yourself. It's more about anticipating the likely drawdowns, knowing your probabilities. All those sorts of things come into play much more quickly for the more experienced trader. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. And at that point as well, you've been through those umpteen times where you've basically lied to yourself and said, okay, well, this isn't a correct entry, but I just took that stupid loss there. I want to win it back. And, you'll take that entry. And, after you've done that 100, 200 times and then kicked yourself afterwards because you lost again on a trade that you should never have taken, then, you do get to a point where you start to have to be honest with yourself and say, look, do I want to be a trader? Then, this is clearly an issue, and I need to put something in place, some process to deal with it. And, generally what you're doing is you're trying to remove a feeling of pain and disappointment, and you're trying to get rid of that feeling by taking an action. And as soon as you realize that that is never going to work in the long run, then you can start to deal with that, and perhaps you need to put process or a system in place to help you initially, but eventually it will become second nature, and you'll still get those feelings of, I was just 5 pips from my take profit there and it's come all the way back. You're still going to feel that pain, but you just realize this is about the system over a long period of trades. That's where the profit's going to lie. this is essentially part of the system, so I'm just going to have to deal with that pain. And you might say, when it happens, go and kick a ball around or something, or go for a jog. But you can train yourself to be better at dealing with those emotions.
It's funny. When you were saying that, you're saying about this idea of understanding that it's not it's not going to make it better, whatever. I kept thinking, so does that mean like when I have a drawdown and have like 6 losing trades in a row, then when I go and smash that pint of ice cream, it's not going to make it better, Darren?
Well, there's nothing wrong with eating ice cream. I mean, if that's going to be your crutch, then that's fine. You are going to get horribly overweight, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. My addiction is ice cream. Yeah, so it's not. So you're telling me it's a failed coping mechanism. It's not going to work in the long run. Yeah. Yeah, so another thing that I think we should just bring up in this topic, in this realm is meditation. Being self-aware. There are tricks that you can use, or techniques or whatever. Like the one that I like is, I actually have so I have this quote office, right, where I live, and it's a stand-up desk. Okay, so you got to stand up to be at this desk. It's got a monitor, and I plug the laptop into the monitor, so it's got 2 screens, and then on the other side of the stand-up desk is this mirror. What's interesting about that is you can see yourself, when you're looking at the trades, and it's not because I'm vain or anything like that. It's because I use this trick where I like to picture myself, like if someone else was watching me doing trading, like making trading decisions on the computer, what would they see? And so and the real reason here is because you want to see, are you stressed out? Are you really frustrated or feeling anxious? Or are you more relaxed and just kind of executing as you should? Because I think that's one of the keys. And if you get into the right mindset before you even sit down and or stand up in my case, and make your trading decisions, that might make it easier as well. So I think for a lot of traders, that might mean going through a simple ritual or a mantra or a meditation or a hypnosis or something, listening to music that you like or that calms you down before you sit down and make your decisions, because you can carry a bunch of crap that you brought in from other stuff, especially if you have a job or something like that, and you're carrying that in to your trading station. That can be, you can start off on the wrong side, right there.
Yeah, definitely. There is a connection, isn't there? The physical and the mental, physical activity can definitely help.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that having a routine can help you. Journaling your emotions can also help you become more aware. I like the idea, the one that I use, which is imagining what it would look like if someone else was watching you. So you're making your trading decisions, you're trading. What if someone was in, the other side of the room watching you trade? What would they see? What would you look like? Would you look like a person that was, in pain or something? Or would you, or someone that's fairly confident of what he or she's doing, that sort of thing. So I think there are a lot of different ways to approach this. The important thing, though, I think, is to become self-aware and to have a method of pinpointing when you are, when you're in need of a break or when you're in need of changing things up. I think that's critical here because, as we all know, anybody can follow a trading system, but I think it's the real trader, the long-term trader, who's able to pull out of that drawdown and keep going and eventually get out of that little valley. And that's really, to me, that's really what separates the real traders, is the trader that's self-aware and is able to get out of that and pull out of that over time. And that just comes, you can say it comes with experience, but it also comes from knowing yourself, knowing when to blame the market or the system or you, like we said, I think a lot of traders in the beginning, they're going to blame the market. They're going to blame the system. The system's broken. It doesn't work anymore. We need to fix it or find a new one, and the more mature trader is going to say, no, I think it's me here. I need to look at me and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So that's kind of how I would approach this, is make sure that you can put your finger on something that you can use so that you are self-aware and when things, when you need to take a break or change it up a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think takes time to learn, but if you arm yourself with knowledge that these things exist and techniques to deal with it, then you can speed speed that process up. But still, one of my favorite ways of dealing with it is pinpointing the elements where you go wrong and make your mistakes, and then having a little checklist that you kind of have a conversation with yourself, whenever that happens. So if your problem is whenever you get stopped out, or you have a string of consecutive losers, then the next time that happens, you have a little checklist and you ask yourself, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? Is it a valid entry? Is it a valid exit? Etc., etc. And you have this kind of conversation with yourself before you take any action.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time, Darren. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next week, Walter.